Thank you for joining the Orient Odyssey, from shell to market, a fascinating life of pearls, organized by the Informal Markets Jewelry and Gems Knowledge Community. My name is Dr. Mario Ng, and I'm going to guide you through the whole exhibition. First of all, even for the entrance, we make the lighting in a special way. The pinkish purple and the green color are actually the orient of the pearl. So when you look at the pearl, it is not just a pure solid color, but have some kinds of the transparent color of this purplish pink and the green. So we would like to highlight, because the orient of the pearl is the very important criteria. What pearls different from other gemstones. So this should be the entrance, and let's get inside to see what is more inside. So from here, the carpet actually are different by the different colors. So this part is about the history, starting from who first found the pearls, and then the cultivation of the pearl and other kinds of the inventions. So from here, we have the history and lore of pearls. So what is behind the name of the pearl? From Latin, it means lake, the lake of the shell, and then from Old French, and then to the late Middle English, this is like a different meaning, and eventually becomes the meaning of this kind of the round things. But we have to emphasize one thing: pearls are not just round. We'll see more later on. And here, the timeline is assembled in this way. From 5,800 before Common Era, this so far is the first discovered pearls in Abu Dhabi. It's a tiny pearl. And all the things start with this timeline. And this is the first occasion that we try to separate the history in an event related to salt water and the fresh water. It's just like here, we have the orange thing here. We actually are talking about the Chinese were the first one who cultivate the freshwater pearl, as shown over here. And at the time goes, and then until nowadays, we have different events over here. So here is like the overview of the overall the pearl history, including some of the history about the birthstone, just like the birthstone for June, and then the anniversary stone for the 3rd and the 30th year. And we have also emphasized one thing, why pearl was so precious and now even being adorned by a lot of people. Because just like the very famous story about the Cartier building and exchange partly with the natural pearl necklace, we have also put it here to let the people about the preciousness of the stone. And also some of the famous painting, just like here. So from here, we are entering the world of the pearl farm. So that's why this time we have built a tunnel, undersea tunnel, to fully have an immersive experience. After entering this side, we can smell the fragrance of the sea breeze, because we have a fragrance especially chosen for this event. And here, on this the sandy color thing, actually is the color of the golden pearl. So first of all, it's just like the bubbles. The bubbles are bubbling from the bottom of the sea, but actually this is like the classification of different pearls. Here we are not just having what we call the South Sea pearl, freshwater pearl, but also kind of like natural pearl, like conch or something like that. Usually on textbook, you will see the classification separation between culture and the natural pearls. So we have that over here, but we have more than 20 types of the different pearl. How do we going to classify them? We have invented this thing. By having different lights appear on the board, you will know that those appear in red will be the natural pearls. Those appear in blue will be cultural pearl. What about other classification systems, just like salt water and fresh water? Again, we push this button and then you will see the separation, which means that actually on this 6 different classification system, the 20 pearls will be able to classify in this way. And then afterwards, we move to the second part about the classification, mineralogy, gemology on the wall. So this is some hard science about pearls. What will be the chemical composition? We talk about calcium carbonate, just like our human bones, but also with protein. So here we've got a lot of the different explanation. And then, because I've emphasized one thing, just like the entrance, we have the overtone and the orient of the pearl, which is very important. And that's why here we explain behind the orient of the pearl. So how do we explain that? The pearl layer is just like this one. And actually for the soap bubble, we have something like this. And we have placed this thing for a purpose. Actually, it's a soap bubbling machine. We try to produce some kinds of the bubble. You can see from the surface the different kinds of like the pinkish and the greenish color. And actually, this phenomenon is exactly the same while pearl bearing that kind of the Orient. Not just what we call the thin film interference, but also another effect, what we call the diffraction of the surface, can also help the pearl to give off the Orient. Here is the magnification under microscope of a CD or DVD because it has a lot of highly grooved texture on the surface. Compared to the pearl, literally they are the same. And that's why this kind of the rainbow color adds additional rainbowing effect on the pearl surface. And that's it for the mineralogy, gemology, and the effect behind the Orient. Now for the second part, we are moving to the pearl farm. So here we are displaying all the things happening in the pearl farm right from the beginning for the cultivation. Because just like this one, pearl does not appear until a oyster or mussel has fully completed the growth of that. From smaller size, the growth of the speck, and then until it becomes the adult. We actually even have the chance to have the extremely baby oyster being displayed over here. Maybe you can come over to see if you can see it. So I'm trying to use my phone to see. Can you see? These are the tiny baby oyster. These are the extremely small baby oyster, which is like less than 1 millimeter. And they are all concentrated in the little box over here. So even smaller than what we are displaying in this way, okay? So from the very small juvenile, we will say they have the growth and then become big. So for different oyster or different mussels, so from the smaller one to the bigger one, from small to big, until it becomes an adult, it is ready for what we call the nucleation or the cultivation. And we always invite the audience and the visitor to come over because in the pearl farm, they're going to do that kind of like cultivation using certain kinds of the tools. Maybe I just take two and then pretend to do in this way, such that it has just the same experience of what is going to happen in the pearl farm. Of course, it's for them for posting, and then to take a photograph as a memory. After all this thing, we also explain to them how the pearl nucleus is being made, because we always mention about the nucleation, putting something inside the pearl oyster or the mussel, and this is how it is being produced. From a freshwater mussel, we slice them into slices, cut them into cubes, and then polish them. Eventually, we'll have some shell bits in this way, ready to be put inside the oyster for the nucleation. It depends on what type of pearl that you want to have. You can choose the smaller pearls or different bit material later on. From here, the nucleation process is meant to be complete. And then now we go to the fourth part, about the pearls and the shells around the world. This will be the biological classification, what is available in the market. It's just like Tahitian pearl, Akoya pearl, and then PP pearl, Cortex pearl. So these are the common names in the market. But what is the correct biological classification? We put out a diagram in this way, trying to share with the people about the science behind the classification. And we have also put in the rather easy way, okay, we call Akoya pearl, we call South Sea pearl, we call Tahitian pearl. What did they come from? What will be the shell size? And then the pearl sizes that will be cultivation period and notable complete in one go, such that they can compare side by side. The next part so goes to be a very attractive part because we are putting the shell and the pearls together, trying to let the people know what is the relationship between. Starting with these are what we call the non-nacreous pearls produced by usually the conch, which is the gastropod. Just like this one, we have the conch pearl produced by a conch, and then you can see the pink color of the pearl and the pink coloration of the shell. This is the close relationship that we want to share with the people because with the shell color is directly related to the pearl color. It's just like for the golden pearl. We have the golden color lip for this one. For the white color pearl, we have the white shell, and then to the far there, For the black pearl, we have the black lip all the way. So for freshwater pearl, sometimes we have the purple color as well. Okay? All these things happen under the water, under the sea or under the pond. For the nucleus to be covered by the nacreous layer bit by bit underwater. Maybe it will take like 3 years or 5 years for a pearl to be completing the process. These are usually the cultural pearl, but we also have some natural pearl, no human intervention in the nature, just like what we call the cortex pearl in the tray. No human intervention. We have something from the fresh water, from the river, Mississippi River, Tennessee River, abalone shell, scallop shell, for a comparison to see. Now, of course, after the fourth part, because we have just mentioned about putting all those things into the water, and then after several years, they are ready to be harvested. And then that's why we have the shell opening, the harvesting. So now we are demonstrating the pearl harvesting. We have the live demonstration. This part is important for the people to see where they will find the pearl, inside the oyster, inside the shell. Sometimes they are aggregated at the corner, at the rib, and then some of them will be concentrated in just one area in the gonad. Sometimes, just like this one, you can have multiple pearls within one shell. That can happen because they're using different techniques, using different nucleations in different mussels or in different oyster. So this is for the people to understand more. After getting the pearl harvested, some pearls that is not as attractive as other, we will consider for them to undergo what we call the treatment. So like from here, we display 3 different pearls. One is unprocessed, untreated, and then one of them will get irradiated, one is dyed. So we want to put a side-by-side comparison for them to have a look. The next one will be the lab, certification and grading. First of all, we'll ask a few people, what do you think about the pearls or the imitation? Here we display certain imitation on the table. And want to invite them to see, can they find any pearls over here? Well, actually they are free. I don't want to disclose the answer, but how do they able to tell which one will be the pearl, which one is not? If they cannot, that is the reason why we put up the table over here. Traditionally, we have different ways to test pearl. I would say can be scientific, can be just something that we use daily. It's just like for this part, we are having the temperature test and the hefting test. We got 3 plates over here. Touching on this gives you a cold sensation. Touching on this pan, warm sensation. Touching on this one, warm sensation as well. So we'll just explain to them. Because pearl, they are natural biogenetic calcium carbonate. Usually they dissipate heat rather quickly. And that's why when you touch on them, it gives you a cold sensation. But for the imitation, maybe they are just made of like plastic or glasses. And that's why you don't feel cold, but instead you feel warm. Second thing, when you hold it, we want to invite them to hold them and then heft it. This feels heavy. This feels light. And for pearls, that should feel heavier than this one. So that's why, by simple test, they may have an idea to separate pearl from the imitation. But this is not only the single test. We have more to show them, which in textbooks, usually they will just put like, okay, destructive test, not to do it at home. But here we want them to realize what is happening here. So that's why we have some kinds of like acidic solution prepared for them and invite them to put a real pearl provided by our contributor to put inside. Now that will take some time for the reaction to start up. But what will happen in the end? Bubbling, just like this one. And eventually, after overnight, the pearl is being dissipated by the acid. Eventually, there are some kinds of like very colorless layers on the surface, which explain, okay, pearl consists of calcium carbonate as well as the conchiolin, the protein which is left behind afterwards. And then there is a very interesting test that was happening in the past for the Chinese or for the Westerner. They proposed to have the teeth biting test. Not really bite on that, but they try to grind it against the teeth to feel if there is like anything grainy. But now after the pandemic, we don't recommend this test. Instead, we ask them to rub two pearls together. This one feel a little bit sandy or the grainy. But for the another one, I put them and try to rub it. Oh, it is so smooth. Why is that? We talk about the tiling, the tilting of the aragonite layers on the surface. If there is a lot of stacking, it makes you have the light grainy sensation, but this one does not have the pearl natural surfaces, so that's why it feels smooth. And how to emphasize this thing? We let them to take a look of the microscope of the pearl and with the screen over here. So here we are seeing the surface of the pearl, which can display to you. Actually, this is the surface which has a lot of different layers. That explains why the pearl will not be very smooth at the surface. And of course, after this one, we'll explain to them, these tests can be destructive and we don't recommend them to do it at home or at the show. Instead, when we are talking about advanced testing in the laboratory, we recommend them to take a look on the board. All kinds of like spectroscopy, X-ray, and X-ray computer microtomography, etc. And we even show them something rather interesting by having the X-ray on the pearl. Talking about this, you probably realize, okay, there is something microchip on the video. And that is why we are going to show them for the people. RFID Pro demo over here. This is the Pro, and this is a scanner. When we try to show to the people, so there is nothing for the scanner at this moment. Count 3, 1, 2, 3. There's a beep, another beep, and then it will show a number over on the screen, and with F2. What is the importance for that? When we try to take a look at the report of this Pro, you probably can see there's a number ended with F2, which is the same as what we have just shown on the screen. After the certification part, one thing that usually appears in the lab report will be the grading. So actually here we are tabling out what is the grading system for the Pro. So the Pro grading, either it can be grouped in one of the factor 7 Pearl value factor system, or we can count it into the 5S system developed by different organizations. But essentially, what they're talking about are very similar. And that's why we have put up the diagram over here, but also makes several notes. Just like for shape, it also depends on the cultivation time, because the longer the cultivation time, the more irregular it can be. And maybe when we're talking about the luster, so some kinds of the treatment can enhance the luster. And this is why we have to be very careful. For the color, also treatment can alter the color. So that's why when we are looking at the grading of a report, we should take a look at the treatment as well. So this is what we want to tell the people. So after telling all the basics about the grading system, we also have aggregate the 20 different grading systems developed by 20 different organizations over here. So some of them are from the laboratory, some of them come from the pearl dealers, some of them are from the trade association, but there is no consensus at all. Some luster classification may be 5 types, some of them will just persuade 4 types. What we want to share with the people is that, well, if the system are not unanimous, it is not a consensus, then the grading system can vary from one lab to another organization or another association, which means that probably you have to visit it by yourself. And of course, we want to tell the people about what kinds of the lab reporting service is available in the market. So some of the report by certain international important organization or by some local organization. And even for the conch pearl, there is a grading system for them. It's just like here, developed by the one company talking about different paint color and also the flame pattern on the surface. But looking into this kind of the textual image may not be enough. So that's why we have to tell the people using the real object as an example for the grading. No matter the 7 system, the nacre thickness, the color, luster, the shape, etc. So by putting into, just like for the first one, which I would consider quite important, will be the nacre layer. We asked our contributor to cut the pearls into halves and then look at how much material is grown over the bit nucleus. And then search that for the Tahitian pearl, South Sea pearl, and other kinds of the pearl. How do they differ from each other? The next one, we go from the surface condition, color, shape, different like a round shape, drop shape, kind of like snail shape, or the heart shape as well. We also have the luster. We also have the size. Size can be important because one unit system that we use to weight the pearl is called the momme. And naturally, there's a Japanese story saying that the momme actually is a system developed for the pearl. And at that point, they find it so important, they even have the 5 yen coin the same weight as one momme of the pearl. Thanks to our contributor, we are able to pull up what we call the top quality pearls over here. No matter freshwater, South Sea golden pearls, conch pearl, South Sea white pearl, Tahitian black pearl, or the Arcoya pearls. They are all over here for important pearls. You might have noticed also, in some of the glasses, there is a magnifying glass of the metal glass on the surface. We make them for purpose because we want them to look through the magnifying glass to see what is happening inside. Just like this one, we are talking about something about the carved pearl. So pearl in the past, call it, this should be something not require any fashioning. But now we're saying that for certain designer, they love to carve the pearls to make it even prettier. Just like the way that I'm wearing. There's one pearl that I'm wearing, it is a carved pearl as well. It is exactly the same way how it is being carved, with a special nucleus or with a normal nucleus. And other interesting pearls included over here will be like the faceted pearl, drill hole pearl, and then the maki-e, and also other kinds of things, which you can look at it in person, or you can just have an introduction on the wall telling everything. The drilled freshwater pearls, the maki-e, carved pearl, faceted pearl, etc., etc. On this part, after we talk about all these things, it is already the finished product, but we also would like to share with the people how this technique is being done. And that's why we have invited a very important gemstone artist, which is right behind the camera right now, the world-class gemstone artist, Victor Tuslukov, to be demonstrating the pearl faceting in front of us. So he's working over here, very concentrated. We don't want to disturb him. And these are the pearls that he has already faceted. This is how he's doing. Victor is extremely good at faceting different material, just like for the color gemstone. But this time, he's being challenged by faceting pearl. And thanks for his work, this is something that he has already cut over here and demonstrating to everyone. The story did not end. We continue to have what we call the styling corner. It is pearls only for ladies, or they can be for men as well, how to mix and match. So even for today, I'm wearing pearls on my pin, on my hand, even I have something else together. And because pearl is a very interesting gemstone, that we focus on sustainability. Because if we have the pool water, we can only have pure pearls. That's why on the wall, we talk about the pearl and the sustainable development. What challenges the pearl farming is facing, what kind of objective that we are achieving according to the United Nations Sustainable Global Goals over here. We want to share with the people, and of course some of the projects that has already been done. Just like the Brilliant Oyster Project, the pearl composting project, etc., such as to tell the people, okay, the pearl farming actually is living with the people, living with the mankind. We are not destroying, but we coexist together. So the main exhibition part ends here, but the journey does not end. I will say more to go, because outside we have the photo taking booth. So as you can see, we already have some kinds of preview here, telling the people that they can take a photo with some kinds of the background, and we have the charity sale. So here with the photo taking booth, you can see the very last section will be our charity sale. So this time, because thanks to the contributor who contribute a lot of the freshwater pearls, the whole team the Orient Odyssey team has make a lot of different jewelry from those kinds of freshwater pearls, and they're available for sale over here at this corner. So here we have the beneficiary, which is related to water, because I've just mentioned about the sustainability. Water is very important for pearls, so that's why the beneficiary for this park is what we call a drop of life, which focuses on the water to like the rural areas, etc. And this will be the final station for this journey. Thanks for participating, and we really wish to see you in the Orient Odyssey here.